my name is Katie and today I want to talk to you about diversity in the publishing world. I want to start by saying that I stand in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I am very glad to see that a light has been shone on both the blatant and the structural racism that exists within US, UK, elsewhere in the world, the societies that we live within. I hope positive change comes out of this, and I hope that that is a lasting change and it doesn't just die down when the hashtag does. So in this video I want to talk about the ways in which we as a book community can use our platform, use our influence to continue the movement to diversify the publishing world and to challenge the structural racism that exists within publishing. I mean, what we've seen this week is the power of the book community. When we act together, we are stronger. And when we uplift the voices of other people, we are better, really. We are stronger together. On Twitter, we've seen, and on Instagram actually, we've seen Book Outlet being called out for their whitewashed vlogger programs and how unacceptable it is that they can possibly say that the reason that their vlogger program is dominated by white voices is because they like to approach family-friendly vloggers. It's outrageous, to be quite frank. But the fact that we as a book community have pulled together and said, no, that's not acceptable, I'm not happy with that, they've had to respond and they've had to issue apologies. And I think that what we've shown in that is how powerful we can be. And I hope that we continue to use that power for good. So what we see is we have a platform, an audience, and with that we have a certain amount of power. And I think that we have to think about how we can use that, whether we have 30 followers, 3,000, 30,000, hundreds of thousands of followers, however many you have, it's worth thinking about how you can use that platform for good. So how can we use it? Well, this is a wee list I've made of some ideas I had of how we can use our platform to continue to push for diversity in the publishing world. Obviously this list isn't exhaustive, it's just my sort of initial ideas. So if you have any other ideas, please do let me know in the comments below, because I would really welcome them as I continue to think of ways that I can do better. One of the first things I think we can do is we can take stock. We can look at our bookshelves and think, right, who is writing these books? Who is behind it? Are they all just white, upper class, cis, able-bodied people? Or are we actually looking across our bookshelf and looking for voices that maybe aren't heard elsewhere? And I think what's important in this is looking back as well and saying, right, this year, what have I read? Who have I been reading from? How diverse is what I'm reading? And as you're doing that reflection, it's worth thinking about the progress you're making. Are you making progress, or are you actually regressing in terms of the diversity of what you're reading? And that doesn't just go for Black authors, that goes for, Asian authors, other minority ethnic groups. It goes for LGBT groups. It goes for disabled voices. Are you picking up books by these people? Are you listening to what they have to say about the world and hearing their experiences? Because I think the thing is that a lot of us are talking about making change, and that's great, but real change, long-lasting change, takes perseverance, it takes determination, and it takes a bit of holding yourself accountable. The second idea of what I think we can do is I think we can engage critically with what we're reading. I think it's important to look at both how the book contributes to our understanding of the world around us, and also to look at the ways in which our own lived experiences, our own worldview somehow shapes our understanding of the book. And I think that last bit is the hardest bit, because you really have to do a lot of work on yourself and think about, what am I bringing as a reader? It's like when you do research and you have to look at your biases. You have to look at what it is that you fundamentally believe about the world and why your reading of a book will be impacted by that, just as the way that your research will be impacted by your outlook and your lived experiences. And I think it's very important to do that. The third way in which I think we can make a change is by thinking about what we're promoting. So you get a book from a publisher, and the vast majority of us aren't paid to do these things, to do this reviewing and reading, and we aren't paid to promote certain books. I mean, some people will be, but the vast majority aren't. And I think it's worthwhile thinking about what you're using your platform to promote, what you're using your platform for, quite frankly. If you are using your platform just to talk about white authors, just to talk about able-bodied authors, how diverse are your bookshelves? How diverse is your worldview? How critical are you of the world around you? And speaking of seeing the world through a critical lens, my fourth point is that I think we should continue to do that. And that goes, in the case I'm going to talk about, towards events. I think if you're looking at an event lineup, if you're looking at, say, for example, when BookCon releases who they're going to have on their at their event that year, if you're seeing that and thinking, that's mostly white, cis, able-bodied people, then one, you can say before the event and speak to them and say, look, I would actually love to see you promote a range of voices. I would love to see you give platform to a range of voices. Because I think that sometimes people just aren't thinking about this issue in the way that certainly these book event organisers should be. And the second thing you can do is that when you go to these events, you can question it. If you are sitting at an event and the entire panel is white, why don't you ask about diversity in publishing? Because on Twitter this week, it came out that many black authors were saying, when I'm interviewed, I'm always asked about diversity in publishing. And one author said, hey, white authors, are you ever asked this question? And the resounding answer was no. So maybe we could ask those questions when we go to these events. Maybe we could ask, hey, why is it that you've decided that everyone on your panel is going to be white, cis, able-bodied? Why have you done that? And what do you think about diversity in publishing? How do you think that we could make publishing a more diverse industry? And how could it be a more welcoming place for people who are not white, not cis, not able-bodied? And I think in particular, there's usually at these events some kind of question time, and I think that'd be a brilliant question to ask, to be honest. And it's something that I'm planning to be more questioning of, to be more direct and almost confrontational about. Because I want to see these changes in the world of publishing, and one of the ways I see that I can influence that is by being vocal about it. And my final point is that we should raise to a publisher anything that we see in a book that is problematic, that is racist, that is homophobic, that excludes people. The thing about that is that most of us are reading books before they are published. A lot of us are anyway, and we are promoting books. And I've spoken already about what you choose to promote, and this is a different point. This is about when you see in one of those books before it's been released that there's something problematic in it, raise that with the publisher. This was something that somebody posted on Instagram, and it's actually something I'd never thought of before until that point, but it's a very, very good point. And I think to some degree we have a duty as early readers, as people who are having first access to these books, to raise something that we find problematic. And this is actually something I've been thinking about myself, because I can think of books that I have read where someone has said something that to me is unacceptable. They've said something which, for instance, I read a book by a white woman author, and she, in her analysis of an incident which involved a black man, she decided for him, without citing any information about his perspective, she decided what meaning he gave to an event that happened. And this is a non-fiction book, and I wrote in my review, I think that's completely problematic that she's done this. I don't think it's acceptable that a white woman is talking about a black man's experience, but I never raised it with the publisher. I never spoke about it. I never actually spoke about the book on any platform because people were raving about it, and I was like, I don't see it as a book to rave about. I see it as kind of a problematic book. So I was shy to share a negative review of something that everyone else was saying was popular. And maybe if you feel that way and you're shy about it as well, maybe the way to get around that, which is what I'm thinking about just now, is to raise it with the publisher and say, look, this part of this book is not okay. It's racist, it's unacceptable, it's homophobic, it's transphobic, it's whatever it is. Why are we letting that kind of view exist within the literature we're reading and for it to go unchallenged? One final thing that I think we could do and think about is whose content we're engaging with online, because I've been doing a bit of research the last couple of days about algorithms, social media algorithms, and what I've been finding is that often social media algorithms give us content that they think we want to consume. They also often are reflective of societal dynamics, and what we've seen and been exposed to quite blatantly is that there are a lot of areas in society where racism exists. And I think that if we can continue to seek out own voices reviewers who have a range of identities, then we will start to see the algorithm seeing, oh no, people don't just stick to reading and listening to the voices of people who look and behave like them. They want to read about people who don't necessarily have the same lived experiences as them. There's so much more I could say on this topic. I feel like I've just touched the iceberg of my feelings and thoughts about it, but I hope that maybe something that I've said has been useful to somebody, and I'd love to know what you think as well about what we could be doing. If there's anything that I've missed out here that you've thought about or heard someone speak about, I would love to hear it, because this is work that I'm doing, and it looks like online a lot of people are doing this work in terms of looking at what they can do, how they can use their platform for good. And with that in mind, I would love to draw your attention to the description box where I have shared some links to people's profiles across all platforms where they talk about these issues. And these are people who, to my experience, I've been following them for a while, and to my experience they've been talking about this for a while. And that's why I've chosen these people particularly. And I think that that's important, that we seek out people who will continue to challenge us to think about these issues. There are two final things I'd like to share with you. The first is a quote from There by Tommy Orange, which made me stop and reflect and made me think about my own privilege, and I want to share that with you. So this is the thing. If you have the option to not think about or even consider history, whether you learned it right or not, or whether it even deserves consideration, that's how you know you're on board the ship that serves hors d'oeuvre and fluffs your pillows, while others are out at sea, swimming or drowning. And the second thing that I want to close out on is a video that I took. It's only a small clip of the man singing at the Black Lives Matter demonstration in Reykjavik. And he's singing "A Change Is Going to Come," and I think it maybe just will give people time to think about what I've said or think about what they can do to make a difference. So I hope it gives you that time to sit and reflect.
over.